This is the Round 2 podcast with Galen, Parker, and Stephanie Nicole, where we talk to big thinkers, big dreamers, and big idea havers. Quitting and failing are not the same thing, and we're going to show you why. How is everyone doing? We are so excited to have you back on another episode. My name is Galen Parker. This is the Round 2 podcast starring Stephanie and Nicole. Stephanie and Nicole, say hello to the people.
Hey, everybody.
Guys, I'm worried that we're regressing a little bit. Stephanie had more energy these past couple of weeks. Then you notice it's a tick down. I'm gonna get it straight. Stephanie, how's life been treating you?
Life has been good. Well, kind of, sort of. I got a heat pump stolen, and one of the tubs in this other house won't drain, and apparently the electricity isn't working, but we're still out here doing business.
Everyone wants to be a landlord. Everyone wants to be a flipper until them bills come due. Until you get, a bill for $4,500 of crawl space work. You got this. Guys, if you don't follow Stephanie on social media, you really should, because at the very least, you learned something. Definitely going to chuckle. I looked at the picture she posted about the HVAC being got. It definitely looked like Jurassic Park just exploded in there. It looked like a velociraptor just tore that thing open. It looked like a little bomb went off. I was like, did they steal it or eat it? I couldn't tell. So hopefully, Steph, you're going to bounce back from that one. I know you will.
They clearly took their time. They had plenty.
I mean, it was like split open. The thing was, I was just like, what happened here? They were plotting on you. They were looking from the window, just waiting for you to leave the property, or waiting for one of your guys to leave the property. So it is what it is, guys. This is a lesson that you guys are going to learn as you become entrepreneurs. You might not be in real estate. You might not be in flipping. You might not be in any of a real estate related entity, but you're going to run into like little issues, whether it's your t-shirt business, whether it's your cupcake business, whether it's your coaching business. And we've got a big name in the game, Martine Richardson. She's going to be with us. She's walking into coaching. So you're going to have these setbacks. We're going to be here to hopefully help you guys learn how you can transition just your ideas to a business plan, to success, and not be slowed down. You're not a failure until you quit. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have Miss Martine Richardson with us. Give her a round of applause.
Thank
Everyone
you.
put there. Very good to do. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. If you guys haven't done so yet, I'm pointing down. Stephanie's pointing down. Hit that like and subscribe button so that you can stay up to date. So Martine Richardson is with us. We are very happy. We're very appreciative to have another entrepreneur come with us. It's always nice to have someone who, she's not just coaching. She's coaching in the thing that she used to do. And that is when Stephanie tells you guys to check your receipts. This is what we're talking about, because there's a lot of coaches out there. I don't know if you guys noticed. There's a lot of coaches out there. They're coaching on things that they don't actually know how to do, or they weren't really successful in doing it. We've got someone who's been very successful. Martine, give them an intro. Tell them who you are.
Sure. So my name is Martine Richardson. I'm still doing what I coach. So I haven't stopped. I'm still doing. I love it, and I just want to grant that freedom for other people as well. But I've been in real estate for about 10 years now, and it hasn't always been smiles and, rainbows. It's, you have the roller coasters. And as a coach, what I'm hoping to do is to just make you have fewer hurdles, fewer bumps, get you to that goal a little bit faster. But yeah, I've been in it for 10 years. My background is I have a degree in finance. I went to James Madison University. I was a financial analyst at one point for a private equity firm. And I know that sounds like a great job, but I hated it. It sucked. It was boring. I was not fulfilled. It did not help me get to the goals that I wanted for my life. I've always wanted freedom and time, money and time. And that wasn't doing it for me. It was boring. If you have a job and you're unfulfilled, you come home, you're tired, you don't want to do anything else because you spent 8 hours doing something you hated doing. So
absolutely. Yeah,
that's a little bit about me. And now I coach people on how to build their freedom like I built mine.
I love it. Stephanie, have you ever been to JMU? You ever gone to James Madison University?
I have not.
Oh man, when I was in college, we went up to JMU. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to how do I structure the next 7 sentences? We had a great time.
You probably
got
drunk.
Beautiful campus. They were very hospitable. I can identify with what you're saying about not being fulfilled. When I got out of college, I took a finance job, and they put me in. They put me in the retention department, and it was a company called Clearpoint Financial. I was done work. I'd get there at 9:30. I was probably done with my actual work by 11:30. And I remember my direct report was the director. So I would say, well, what do you need me to do? And he was just like, did you do all that? I'm like, yeah. And he was just like, all right, just hang out. I literally would hang out from like 11:30 to 5 o'clock doing absolutely nothing. Just sitting there being like, oh my goodness. I was definitely unfulfilled for like, I felt tired at the end of the day, and I didn't really do anything. So,
Right.
Stephanie, what's a job that you had that you did not feel fulfilled in?
I think every single job except for real estate. I didn't like anything about any job that I've had.
I love it.
There's been jobs that I've had, like, this is gonna sound strange. I don't know if you guys remember U Crops.
Yeah.
Of course.
When I was a teenager, when I was in like my first year of college, I worked at U Crops. I really enjoyed that job. I enjoyed talking to like the older people. All these like old men would just be giving you free game and like giving you unsolicited life advice, unsolicited dating advice, all the advice. But it was like a good job. I enjoyed being around the people. I just remember when they were like, Galen, you ever thought about being a manager here? I'm like, oh, no. I don't want to do that. I was like, I like here. This is not, I was like, I like it here. I love you guys, but that's not what I want to do. All right. So you've been in real estate 10 years. And if you guys are listening to the show, if some of you guys are probably in real estate, alone that's a feat. The average realtor, real estate agent, they essentially are out of the business after year 3 to 4. So anytime you hear someone says, I've been in the business 5+, you should take your hat off to them, because that's not an easy feat. What were some of you mentioned it wasn't always smiles. What were some of the unsmiles, the frowns that you came up against in real estate?
Well, it was mainly like when I got started, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I want to let everyone know I've never been a realtor. I've never been a real estate agent. I had no desire to be a realtor or a real estate agent, but I love realtors and real estate agents. They help me all the time. I just don't want to do it. Like you love U Crops, but you didn't want to be the manager. Like, I don't want to do that. So anyway, when I first got started, it took me 2 years to get my first deal. So you have to think about the perseverance that it would take for you to keep going, not seeing any results for 2 years. But like once I got the deals, I got 5 at one time. So like it was worth it, because I just kept learning. Like I would try something, it wouldn't work, and I'm like, man, this doesn't work. And then like I would listen to some podcasts like this one, and I would do what they said do on the podcast. And it wasn't really until I decided that, all of these people, it's no way everyone is lying about making money in real estate. Like, because I'm like, how are people getting stuff at a discount? Like, how does this work? And I'm like, it's no way everyone is lying. So it wasn't until I decided that I'm going to keep doing this until it starts working for me. That's when it started working. And it's just, I had to be consistent. And once I was consistent, I was able to get what I was hoping to get. And I just kept going from there.
I like that. So that, to me, Steph, you probably agree, that's a gem in itself. Consistency, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times have we told a guest, how many times have we told a mentee, someone we're coaching, like, you've got to be consistent. Mm-hmm. So you had 24 months of no deals, but you still were committed to that process. That's awesome.
Man, it was tough. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it like it was easy. And just to add a little bit about my story, my voice is hoarse and I don't know why. But anyway, when I first got started, like I was at my lowest, just to let you guys, I want to be totally transparent about this. I had gotten a job out of college, and I used to always think, like Stephanie, I didn't like a lot of the jobs that I worked either. And I used to always think, once I got my degree, I'm gonna enjoy the job. And then I got my degree, I got the job, and it still sucked. So I got fired from that job. And this isn't the private equity job, it's another job. But I got fired from that job. I moved in with my aunt maybe a year or so later, and thank God she took me in, because I probably would have been homeless. My car got repossessed. Like, I just want to let you guys know what was going on at the time. My car got repossessed, and the next day I started taking real estate seriously. I was hopeless. I was depressed. This wasn't what I envisioned for my life after. Like, I went to college for a better life, not a worse life, you know? So I'm over here thinking.
That's the story we're sold.
And I'm like,
yeah, you go to college, you get, yeah.
I'm like, what in the world? And then, like, I finally found real estate, and I found out how to do real estate without having any money. And then later on, I started using my FIRE method, and that allowed me to keep the properties and still, get instant equity once I got those tenants in there. And I don't know, it just totally changed my life, guys. From when I first started to now, it's kind of unbelievable, just to be honest with you. So I just want to encourage people to keep going.
We're going to circle back to your FIRE method because I want you to walk the listeners through that.
Okay.
But how did you get to real estate? I mean, you're living with your aunt,
mm-hmm.
cars repossessed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people listening, they're empathizing with that because they're looking around in their situation. They're just like, I'm living with my aunt and I don't see my car outside. Like, so what was it like? How did you identify real estate?
So, my dad, he noticed that I had the entrepreneur spirit like he does. And he was like, you ought to get into real estate. And I'm like, how am I going to get into real estate? Don't you need money for that? I don't have any money. And he was like, you're smart. You'll figure it out. So he was right. I was smart. I figured it out. I just started like hanging out with people that they weren't at like the goal of where I wanted to be yet. I learned that later on in life. But we all had a similar fire in us that we wanted more for our lives. And then I was telling them, I think I'm interested in getting into real estate. I don't even know what to do, but I think I'm going to do a little research on that. And someone gave me a book. It was called How to Quit Your Job in 19 Weeks by Sean Terry. And I read it, and it talked about wholesaling. And I was like, wait a second, you can get stuff under contract and sell the contract? Say no more. I can do that. But it took 2 years after that for me to actually get a deal.
That's wild. That's awesome, though. I love that. That's a good book. I've never heard of that. How to Quit Your Job in 19 Weeks
by Sean Terry, and I'm sure it's free. Like I have
Sean Terry.
I have a PDF of it on my email, my old email.
Okay, so guys, if you're listening to this, you're driving to work, people are always asking us for book recommendations and stuff like that. Well, there you go. Stephanie, your questions?
Yeah, so I actually would like to stamp Martine. I am fortunate enough to know her long enough that I actually got to see her journey, see where she started, see where she ended up at. And Martine really is the reason, like her come up was so crazy that it inspired me. Like I almost quit in real estate, but just seeing her, continuously, fall off the horse and get back on, it made me also not give up. So hats off to you, Martine. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm like your biggest fan.
I appreciate that.
How did you get through those 2 years, and what did that look like with no deal, and how did you not quit? Because I just really couldn't imagine.
Yeah, that's a great question. So like when I started, I did not have a job, and I was like, the reason I really got started is because I thought if I could just get a deal, I could just pay to get my car back. That's all I cared about. So I reached out to my best friend, and her mom had this little hoopty she used to drive to work because she lived in Richmond and she worked in DC, and she let me borrow it for a weekend. I said, I got a car for a weekend, I got to make the most of it. So I ended up going to an auction, and my goal was to find a mentor because in the book he had mentioned that you should find somebody that's already doing what you want to do. And like, I want to be very upfront and honest with you guys. Like, I was afraid. I didn't know any of these people. They knew so much more than me. And like, I knew nothing about this industry, but I just had to bite the bullet and be courageous enough to just go up to people and see if anybody was willing to help me. And, a lot of people tell you no, it'll hurt your feelings. But it's like, if you're in a very distressed situation, you're trying to get up out of that situation. So I didn't care if people were telling me no. I had to get up out of that situation. So it was one guy that he was at that he was at that auction, and he was like, well, I used to coach people, but no one took it seriously, so I don't do it anymore. Like, it was a waste of my time, but I got this deal. Do you want to look at this deal? And I'm like, I don't want to look at that deal. I want to blah blah blah. Anyway, followed up with him, and he invited me to his office, and he had the intent to still show me the deal. And like, so he showed me the deal. I moved it to the side. I said, look, I came here because I want you to be my mentor. And he was like, well, if you're really serious, I want you to go find 100 houses in established neighborhoods that are vacant and they look beat up. So he wanted me to drive for dollars. And I said, okay, cool. So I called him back the next day and I said, okay, I got the 100 houses. What's next? I only had the car for a weekend. I had to make it happen. So he was like, oh, you're serious. So I started working with him, but to be honest with you, because this is right when I started, and I still wasn't getting deals. So like, I would send him deals, like send him houses, and he's like, that's not a deal, that's not a deal, that's not a deal. Like, he showed me the process of looking the people up, calling them, cold calling, blah blah blah, and I would send him everybody that wanted to sell. And he was like, that's not a deal, and that's not a deal, that's not a deal. And I'm like, look, bro, I don't have no money. Something got to be a deal. Like, I need to pay my cell phone bill. You tripping. And he was like, what you want me to do? It's not a deal. So, like, one of my friend that her mom let me borrow the car, she also was going through a rough time at that time. She had just gotten her master's degree, and I don't know, she couldn't find a job. So we were like, right, we keep hearing these Amazon commercials, girl. We about to go work at the slave ship. Let's go on to Amazon and go get this job. So we went to Amazon. Well, we said we were going to Amazon, and she did not go. I did. She said, forget that. I'm not working there. And I started working there, and I was going to do that with real estate. And I'm going to speed the story up because the story is kind of long. But I eventually got to a point like, why am I working? I have a degree in finance. Like, this is like slave labor. I'm not doing this. So that's when I got the job at the private equity firm. But I was still doing real estate because I had to get some money. I didn't have anybody that was like paying my bills or anything. I was flat broke. And then, like, also I'm living with my aunt. She expected me to give her something. If I don't have nothing to give, she looking at me sideways, talking about me when I leave the room. I ain't got time for that. So I had
Auntie, no, say it ain't so, Auntie.
I had to make things happen. So I started working a job and doing it. And then, like you, Galen, I was working that private equity job, and it'd take me like 2 hours to do the work. And then the rest of the time, I would be working on my business, and they found out I was working on they logged into my computer and they saw I was working on my business. They were like, oh, you can't do that business thing here. And I just knew, like, after that, I had talked to my brother after, and I was like really passionate about I gotta get out of this place because they're not allowing me to do what's gonna make me free. And I'm not, like, I don't have any more work. Why does it matter? So yeah, I started caring about the business a lot more than the job, and I started getting
like that
deals.
that idea of the fact that, some companies, they're going to give you money, but that's not freedom. Like, they're giving you money to keep you coming back, just enough to keep you coming back, because they don't want the freedom. So now they're logging into the computer. Now they're checking it, because what you're looking for, a lot of people are like, I'm trying to get a bunch of money. And it's like, there's companies, they'll give you a bunch of money, but what you really want is probably a lot of freedom,
right,
so that you can kind of dictate, all right, how is my time spent? What am I doing with my day?
right.
That's the freedom that I think all of us are essentially looking at. Let me go back, because I want people to kind of digest this for themselves. What were some of the things that you were using to evaluate how you select your mentor?
The first guy, anybody that was already doing it and breathing, I was picking them. Like, I didn't have much of a criteria.
So they have to have a heartbeat, right?
that was my first, the first guy. But later on, I got another mentor, and actually, he was the reason that I had started doing deals. I used to listen to this podcast called Wholesaling Inc., and Tom Crow at the time was the guy that did that. And he wasn't officially my mentor, but I usually listen to his podcast because I told you guys I didn't have any money. So I couldn't afford to pay a mentor. I could pay you out of a deal, but I didn't have any money. So I listened to his podcast. I did what he told me to do on the podcast. I did those 5 deals from listening to his podcast, and someone on Facebook was bad mouthing him. They were saying that stuff doesn't work, blah, 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 right? So I defended him. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I did 5 deals just listening to the podcast. He saw it. He saw it.
Ooh.
He reached out to me. He said, I want you on the podcast. And in my eyes, I'm like, oh my God, he's a celebrity. He wants me on the podcast.
All right, just to pause there, guys. If y'all see anybody talking bad about me and Stephanie in the comments anywhere, I want y'all to defend us like Martine defended Tom. I want to log in and be like, Galen is right, Stephanie is right. I need that type of energy in my life. There you go. I love it.
I got on that podcast and he told me to donate some money to charity and he would let me in his coaching program. And his coaching program costs tens of thousands of dollars, right? I said, oh my God, I'm taking this opportunity. So my cousin at the time, she was going on a mission trip to Haiti because she's a nurse and they were helping people out in Haiti. I was like, you raising money for your trip? Here you go. That's me donating to charity. And I showed him the receipt and he let me in the coaching program. And the difference it made was that, yes, I was getting deals before, but they started getting bigger. So whereas before I might have been getting like, 2,000, 3,000, I think 10,000 was the biggest one. My average started being 20,000. And then I would make things that were 40,000, like just big, large chunks because I was hanging around the people that were doing it. And I would just do what they said. Like they said, we did this, and that. And then I would just do it here. And I say do it here because there was no one in Richmond in his coaching program. The closest was DC. So I used to just gather all the DC people and go up there and meet with them and just find out what they were doing and do it in Richmond.
Very cool. I love it, man. I love that's tenacity at work. All right, so now we kind of fast forward to right now. And I wrote this down. Walk us through, you mentioned the FIRE method.
Mm-hmm.
What is that for a person who's just like they're driving in their car, they're on their way to work, they heard you say FIRE method, they're like, wait a minute, what was that? What is that for them?
So basically, when I first started, I didn't know how to keep the properties, right? I only knew how to find the discounted properties and sell all my equity to people, which I really wish I knew this before. But I found out later on that I didn't have to use my own money to buy these properties. I didn't even have to use my own credit to buy these properties. Basically, what I do is I always get houses at a discount. I use a private lender to invest in the deal as the lender. They get a good rate of return, usually double-digit rate of return. And I use their money to buy it, fix it up, get a tenant in there, then I refinance it, and it allows me to get properties and get properties and not use any of my own money to do it. But also I have instant equity. I'm building cash flow without using any, like I'm getting an infinite return. And it allows me to just keep doing this over and over and over and over again to the point where now I'm at my freedom number. And if for the guys that don't know, freedom number is basically you make enough passive money that you can cover all your expenses. So if I wanted to be a lazy bum and not be on the podcast, I could, but I don't want to. I want to show other people this because it changed my life. If I'm frank with you guys, I grew up in Section 8 housing. Now to being worth over millions. Like that's life changing. That's life changing. I want to change other people's lives just how I changed mine.
So there's a lot of people who are going to be listening to this show and they're like, wow, this just the way you listen to Tom, just the way people listen to Stephanie, they're like, how in the world do I go from my situation now to being worth millions? What are some tips and gems that you would want to share with someone new that they should just not just about getting involved in real estate, but just pursuing the dream?
Yeah, so I want to preface it with this. A lot of times we get stuck in the journey, meaning that things aren't happening as fast as we thought that they would happen. But I want to let people know when you do make it to where you were heading, it doesn't really matter how long it took to get there. Because like at that point, it's insignificant. Like you're learning so much during this journey that's going to help you stay in the game for a long time. If you were to get that instant success, such as like a lottery winner or something like that, a lot of them people go broke quickly because they didn't get to learn all those lessons on the journey. So I think that you guys need to really embrace the journey, stay consistent, and hang around the people that are already where you want to be. If you want to be in real estate, you need to go to these meetups in your area, go to these conferences, be around those people. And I know it's intimidating. I know you might be afraid. You're like, oh my God, like I'm a nobody. Why would they want to hang with me? You can, if you can't offer them anything right now, you may be able to offer them a service. You may be able to offer them some help and something that, like, maybe they're so busy. Just get around those people because it's going to start rubbing off on you. Like, you're going to see, well, they did it, I could do it. Like, once you get to know them a little bit more, you're going to be like, oh, they're regular. Like, these people aren't like, you know, superstars. They're just regular folks. I could do this too.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
love
so,
that. That's such a good one.
I wanted to kind of ask you about your coaching programs for somebody
Mhm.
who was interested and would sign up. What could they expect in terms of results, and what does that journey for them working with you look like?
I love that question. So, what I'm guaranteeing for everyone that works with me, that within your first 90 days, you will have your first property that you bought without using any of your money, or I'm going to continue to coach you until you're successful for free. That is my guarantee.
Ladies and
And
gentlemen, I hope y'all wrote that down.
I
what
know
it
I'm not.
looks like what it looks like is we have different we call it baby steps to your first cash flowing property without using any of your own money. So I have a sequence of steps. I talk to my clients once a week. I give them an assignment of what they need to do. They report back to me on how it went. But my main job is to get you the result, however that looks. When I see that you're frustrated or you're struggling with something, my job is to put you at ease so you can keep going. My job is to make sure that you got the result that you came to get. Because if you didn't get the result, why did you hire me? Like I'm doing one-on-one coaching right now, and I'm going to have 100% success rate. I haven't had anyone that has finished the program just yet. They're still in the process of it. But my goal is 100% success rate, and interview me in a year and I'll report back on that.
Oh,
I already met somebody who was
we,
in your program and said that she felt like she was about to get her property ASAP. Like she was very
she
confident.
she is. She know who she working with. We stay humble over here,
you better
but
let them know.
we stay humble over here, but we know the process, so she gonna get it.
I love that. It's funny. This is a slight digression, but one of the things that I've always liked about Stephanie is that, yes, it's important to stay humble. We all know that. Humility, it's very important. It's an attractive quality in an individual. But if you are doing the thing, if you are successful, could you imagine Elon Musk not telling people that he's running all of these companies?
Mhm.
Could you imagine the former president not telling everyone about like all of his deals? And like, people who are successful, they tell you about it because they want you to fact check them. So
Mhm.
sometimes I just tell people, I'm like, talk your stuff. Like,
Mhm.
don't be shy. If you are successful, if you are confident, go ahead and tell them. This is advertising and marketing 101. You
Right.
have to be your biggest fan. So go ahead and tell people. She is saying to y'all, 90 days, if you do the work, you are going to get yourself a deal. And if you do not get a deal, that next month, that check is zero because she's going to coach you for free until you find success. But I would imagine that for those first 90 days, you have to listen to what she tells you because a lot of people, they get that part mixed up. I think Mike Green said it the best. He said, I want someone who is quick to listen.
Mhm.
He was like, when I tell you to do something, you got to do it.
Right. Right.
Not just listening, but people who are willing to do the work. Because we can read
Mhm.
books, we can go on podcasts. It's
Mhm.
not really about the pages that you've read, but how many pages have you actually put into action?
Right.
So people
Amen.
that are doing the work if you're serious.
Right.
No, that's awesome. All right. So as we wrap up, we usually keep these episodes 30 minutes is the time that someone like got in their car to get to their job. if there is one piece of advice that you would just say, goodness, I just want people to understand this. I would always, if I got an opportunity to tell a large group of people something, this is what it would be. What's that gem that you want to give to people?
Since I am heavily in the buy and hold space, I just want to let people know that you do not have to use your own money to keep properties. You do not have to save a considerable amount of money to put down as a down payment to buy these properties. Now, it's nice to have a little reserve because you heard Stephanie say her stuff was stolen. But you you don't have to wait to start being a buy and hold investor. You're missing out on appreciation that you would get if you started now.
That is very, and so oh man, I like that. You're missing out. I'm gonna make sure that's part of the clip. You're missing out on appreciation if you would act right now. Things are growing in value. The longer you hesitate to buy that thing, someone else is getting that appreciation. Someone else is getting that return on investment. Oh, that is wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. This has been wonderful. And as you already heard, Martine said that she's coming back in a year, and we're going to see how those students played out, what their success ratio is. We're probably going to have to end up bringing some of them back on there because if they're willing to commit to what she's doing, they're going to be successful. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Round 2 podcast where we speak to big thinkers, big dreamers, and big idea havers, helping you see that you can transform your dream, your idea to a business plan to freedom. Like in this case. So tap into Martine. Martine, if they needed to reach you on Instagram, how would they reach you?
Okay, so this isn't Instagram, but I have a free real estate investing community. It's on Facebook, Instagram's cousin. It's called The Freedom Inc. We give a lot of free tips on there. Of how to keep, buy and keep properties. We're very focused on keeping the properties. We don't want you to give your equity away to someone else. Ownership is everything. And I want that for everyone that's in that group. So if you're serious and you want to learn, you want to get into a free community of like-minded individuals, people that are already at the goal that you want to be, you can join our free community on the Facebook, The Freedom Inc. Also, for people that are more serious, you want to get into one-on-one coaching, you want a little bit more hand-holding, you want somebody to guide you directly, I invite you to text me. My number is 804-495-1333. I'll send you an application. We'll set up a strategy call. And this isn't a huge company, guys. I'm looking at these text messages. It's not like the salesperson on the sales floor is looking at this. I'm looking at this text message, and I'm going to send you an application, and we can set up a strategy call, and we can see if we can be a good fit for each other.
I'm gonna make sure the editor puts her phone number on the screen for you guys who are watching on YouTube so that you can go back and reference it so that you guys can tap into there. Stephanie, if they need to reach you, where do they go?
Stephanie Nicole RVA on every platform.
On every platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Galen Parker, _Galen Parker on Instagram. Reach out, tap in. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great day.